We're in Jackson Heights. We're here to talk to New York City Council member Shekar Krishnan.
We have to stand together and defend our New York values.
We're also a mere 4 days out from the New York City mayoral election.
But there's only one candidate on this ballot that is actually going to fight for an affordable city.
Shekar represents District 25, which includes Jackson Heights, Woodside, and Elmhurst. Really the most diverse community, not only here in New York, but arguably in the entire world. Shekar himself is the first ever Indian American elected to City Council. Councilmember Krishnan, by the way, is also up for re-election as the Democratic nominee from this district. It's a little bit of a formality, but still very exciting. You chair the Parks and Recreation Committee, obviously care a lot about making sure people have, beautiful public spaces. What can you tell me about this space, the 34th Avenue open street?
Well, right now we are standing on the longest and most successful open street in New York City. It's 26 blocks long. We've got 6 public schools on here, and we created these car-free school plazas because of them. And we've seen a drop by 70% of crashes with pedestrians when we started it. So it created open space and it made our streets safer. It started during the pandemic because here in my district in Jackson Heights, we have the least amount of green space and open space in all of New York City. This is our only park right here that we're walking by. And we were the epicenter of the pandemic nationally. So this started as an experiment during COVID to give all of our neighbors more open space. It became so beloved and popular that in my 2 terms so far in the council, we have done even more with it. We created the school plazas, and we are trying to make it the first ever really linear park in New York City.
What makes this part of the city so special?
Well, Jackson Heights and Elmhurst and Woodside, we are the most diverse immigrant communities on the planet. And I may be biased. I think because of that, we have the best food too in all of New York City. But it's true, although I'm biased. But this neighborhood here in my district, these are our essential workers who move the city forward every day. Delivery workers, taxi drivers, healthcare heroes at Elmhurst Hospital. That was the epicenter of the pandemic nationally. You see one world in this neighborhood, in Elmhurst, in Woodside. And I think it's a microcosm of New York City. Working class immigrant families struggling to make it by every single day. And when Jackson Heights and Elmhurst and Woodside move forward, the whole city moves forward. And I'm so proud to represent this district as the first Indian American ever elected to our New York City Council.
Okay, you're also in the midst of a fight with Uber and Lyft and other rideshare apps, trying to make sure that they don't wrongfully or without cause terminate driver contracts. Why is that such an important fight, and what needs to happen? I believe you're the sponsor, the primary sponsor on that bill. What needs to happen to get that through?
Well, our Uber and Lyft drivers are essential workers in New York City. And I'm actually proud to represent the largest population of driver residents in all of New York right here in this district. They're my kids' parents. I walk down the street in school and I see them every day waving to them too. So these are my neighbors. These are my friends. And they are sacrificing so much to move our city forward every single day. The biggest problem they face right now is that these billion-dollar companies like Uber and Lyft can fire them overnight with no notice whatsoever, no process. And every worker deserves fair and just process. And so what our bill is doing is creating due process for drivers where they have a notice before they're deactivated or fired. They have an opportunity to be heard to challenge that. So we stop these wrongful and unfair firings. And I just think when you have billion-dollar companies that are earning their profits because of workers, you have to treat them with the respect they deserve. And this is our effort to show that drivers deserve respect, their jobs and livelihoods deserve to be protected, because it's what they use to pay their rent, their mortgage, to support their children going to school and to college. And right now, these unfair deactivations or unfair firings, this is the most urgent crisis that for-hire vehicle drivers are facing in this city since the taxi medallion crisis.
So was there a moment in your life in general when you made the conscious decision to run for office? And if so, like what kind of led to that happening?
So for 12 years before running for office, I was a civil rights lawyer representing tenants in fair housing litigation, fighting against gentrification and displacement. And I ran for office because I knew how important it is for everyone to have a home. The housing crisis is the most urgent crisis we face in this city. It connects to everything around us because where you live affects the resources and services that you get. And for so many of my constituents, I mean, New York City, Jackson Heights, Elmhurst, Woodside, it's home. And it reminds them of a home 10,000 miles away too. But you know, what's interesting to think about is actually 5 years ago, I launched my campaign right around here, almost 5 years ago to the day,
Wow.
on a really nice fall day like this. So kind of cool to reflect on it as we're talking
Amazing,
right now.
yeah. So in a couple days, New Yorkers will head to the polls and elect their next mayor. What do you hope that they keep in mind when they do that?
Well, I think right now what's so important, what's clear every day, and I hear it from neighbors every day, is we need a far more affordable city. Too many New Yorkers are struggling to pay their rent, to pay for groceries, to pay their mortgage, just to make it by. And I hope New Yorkers know that there's only one candidate on this ballot that is actually going to fight for an affordable city for our future. And that's Zohran Mamdani. And I'm really excited about how we are on the verge of a historic election. The other thing I think is people want change. And what I mean by change is something far more urgent and important. Yes, Eric Adams is out. He sold out our city to Donald Trump. People want to change from that kind of broken politics where a mayor like Eric Adams is selling out our city to Trump and his xenophobia, where developers and for-profit corporations have special access to City Hall. It is time for a new politics. It is time for that kind of change. And that's what Zohran represents. And that's why I'm so excited that he's about to be elected our next mayor. And I'm looking forward to working together.
So what do the next couple days look like for you leading up to Election Day?
Well, election is coming up on Tuesday. I'm also on the ballot as well, running for my third and final term in the New York City Council. So our neighbors will see both Zohran and me on the ballot. And I'm very excited about the history we're going to make in New York City. But I'm also keenly aware of the incredibly dark times we're living in right now, and how here in New York, all of us have to be standing up every single day for our immigrant neighbors, our LGBTQ plus neighbors, especially our trans siblings, because right now we are seeing the hate coming from Washington, D.C., from the Trump administration, including in our streets here in New York. I was at 26 Federal Plaza right after the ICE raid on Canal Street, and it was horrific to see the way in which immigrant New Yorkers were being chased by ICE agents, military trucks in our streets. It makes me very, very worried about what's to come, but that's why we have to stand together and defend our New York values.